Live from the WLTZ studios in high definition, this is the Dee Armstrong Show.
Joining us on the Dee Armstrong Show. What you're looking at are scenes from 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, also known as the BP oil spill, how you've probably heard it over the years. It covered the Gulf of Mexico in an estimated 4.9 million barrels of oil. And as the oil flowed for 87 long days, many who were making their living in some way connected to the Gulf, they wondered if they would make it, if their livelihood was gone forever. Nearly 5 years later, the bulk of the spill is all but gone, but it doesn't mean that lives are back intact. Effects aren't still there. So here today, now this may affect you and you don't even know it, to talk about the potential claim that your business might have against BP is attorney Ben Finley. Thank you so much for being with us, Ben.
Thank you, Dee. I appreciate you having me on the show.
I think those pictures are just burned indelibly in our memories because it seems so horrific, the oil and the deaths that were caused and the animals that were affected, and then the lives of businesses.
Well, you're right, Dee. The issues that spawned from the oil spill from April 2010 are far-reaching, and I don't know that the economies in the states are going to recover for years and years. As you indicated, millions of gallons of crude oil were put into the Gulf as a result of BP's negligence. Mm-hmm. And as a result of the oil spill, a lot of people don't remember this because it was 5 years ago and memories fade, but 11 people were killed. Yes. Dozens and dozens were injured. The economies of the states, the Gulf Coast states, were all affected. Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, in an appreciable way. And the significance of that can't be overstated. You have deaths that resulted from really irresponsible conduct, and you've got issues that many have said it's the worst, obviously, oil spill in the nation's history, but it's the worst disaster in the history of the world by many in terms of the ecological impact that this is going to have. So we want folks to know about BP, the claims process, and how it impacts people. Particularly in your viewership, because essentially what happened was after the spill there was an agreement in place wherein businesses that are located in Alabama, Mississippi, or Louisiana, no matter where you're located, and within a 30-region county in Florida and four counties in Texas, can bring a claim.
And you don't have to be right there on the Gulf. So don't say I'll be back to watch the rest of the show. This might affect you because there are indirect ways that people are affected.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be right there on the coast, and you may be due money.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's really important for people to understand. You could be a manufacturer in Phoenix City, you could be a retailer in Opelika, you could own a Chick-fil-A in Birmingham, and you have a claim. As the map indicates, as you can see, the zones which are identified in the 5-state region determine who can bring a claim. But essentially, any business owner, for the most part, in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, no matter where you're located, can bring a claim. So if you're a business owner today watching this particular show, and you own any business in manufacturing, retailing, restaurants, dry cleaners, any imaginable business for the most part can bring a claim. Now it's important to recognize that there's a time limit with respect to that, and that is.
And what time limits are they under, Ben?
Well, the last day to bring a claim is June the 8th of this year.
Okay.
So there's about 145, 146 days left or so for businesses to bring a claim. If you bring a claim on June the 9th, you are time barred and can never bring a claim. If you bring a claim on or before June the 8th, then you can bring a claim. Now, the claim, and a lot of people are under the misconception that the oil spill has to directly relate, or there has to be oil on your business.
I was going to say, give us a mental picture. Suppose I do own a Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Now, I'm in an economic chain of events that could have been interrupted by the oil spill. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, essentially, there's a recognition that BP and we had, that when all of this was negotiated, that the economies in all of these states were affected. And because the economies were affected in such an appreciable way and will continue to be, any business can bring a claim if it can show a fluctuation in its revenue around the oil spill in 2010. So essentially, if you can show a fluctuation in your revenue stream in 2010, you may have a claim for compensation. So what we do is simply take a business's financial records, okay, over a 60-month period of time. We run it through a software program, and if it determines that there was an actual fluctuation in revenue based on the agreement that we have with BP, there could be a claim for compensation. The average business claim per the claims administrator and the claim fund indicates that the average business claim is around $300,000.
Which is extremely significant.
It's extremely significant. We believe that there are over $4 to $5 billion in additional claims value out there to be filed. We think there are over 700,000 businesses that still have a claim to be brought if they do it timely.
Ben, why are they not in line for the money? Because they need the money to stay in business, to get back on their feet after dealing with it. Is it because BP is not required to search them out? Is it the business's responsibility to know?
Absolutely, Dee, and that's the point. Business owners need to recognize the fact that they have a claim, and BP is not going to go out of their way to notify anybody. Right. Now, they'll run an ad on television all day long to say we're great and we cleaned up the Gulf, which is not entirely accurate, but they will never tell business owners, by the way, please bring a claim by June the 8th. So we want folks to know that they have the claim. It's their legal right. It's a contractual obligation. BP has to pay the claims, and because they're required to pay these claims, business owners need to recognize that they have a right under the agreement and to seek compensation if they meet the particular formula. So we want to encourage folks to identify and recognize what their rights are under this agreement and recognize they have a claim for compensation. But if they don't act by June the 8th of this year, they'll be time barred.
Now, Ben, I have these pictures going on in my mind. What if it was a mom and pop restaurant and they're like, you interrupted the flow of the food that I needed to serve my people and I went out of business, or business was so slow I almost went out of business. So you're not just speaking to the mega companies, are you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
In fact, most small businesses are not Home Depot and Lowe's, and businesses like those have filed, claims for $20, $30, $40, $50 million. We're talking about folks that are small business owners like you talk about.
Yes.
Manufacturers, retailers, the restaurant owners, a dry cleaner. I mean, those folks that own businesses, and that's most of American businesses, are small business owners, the vast majority. And people need to recognize that they have the claim. The other deal I think that's important for businesses to understand is the fact that Judge Barbier in New Orleans, who did a great job putting together the structure of the agreement, set our representation and lawyers' representation of clients on a contingency fee basis.
Okay, so you're telling them that if you feel that this is you, and you may say, I don't have money to hire Ben. So you're saying it's a contingency basis? Absolutely.
Okay. We represent people on a contingency fee basis with regard to these claims. So there's no risk, there's no expense for the business to pay us by the hour. What we are set, our fee is set by the court at 25% of the recovery. If there is no recovery, then there's no fee to the client. The client doesn't have to pay for this. So there's no reason for them not to pursue this or to look at that if they have some concern or a chilling effect on the fact, well, this is going to cost me a lot of money because I'm going to have to pay lawyers to do all this work. The court set that because the court wanted folks to recognize and not for that small business owner to be concerned or intimidated by the legal process. This is, when you go back and dial it back, BP could have resolved this problem and remediated it before it happened, but they chose not to be responsible, and they put greed and corporate profit over safety and human lives. 11 people were killed, dozens were injured, the economies in these 5 states were irreparably harmed, and as a result, there's recompense that needs to be had with this with regard to them paying businesses and individuals. Now, because it's very difficult to determine the exact amount of damages that each business might have, like the restaurant owner you mentioned, or maybe a gym owner, or maybe a manufacturer, we agreed, along with BP, to a formula, a simple mathematical formula, and that'll determine what the damages are. So we don't have to prove.
So you've taken a lot of the burden off of the individual who's sitting there going, I can't fight big business. It's not your fight. What you're saying is that there are things in place legally that if they get in touch with the right people, it will be done for them on a contingency basis.
Absolutely, Dee. And the other thing, too, to recognize with this is BP is British Petroleum. They are a British company. Our clients are American businesses And you got to recognize too, folks need to look at this. BP made over $400 billion, and much of that revenue came from our shores and off of our shores, drilling in places like the Gulf of Mexico. American business owners and American businesses we represent have a claim, and we're damaged, and our economies were all damaged by the profit, the greed that these folks put ahead of safety and put ahead of folks that really were either the families are experiencing tremendous loss. I'll tell you as an example, one of the workers who was killed in the spill, 37-year-old man, was killed in this explosion on the day of his wedding anniversary, 4 days before his birthday, and left a wife and 2 children. So these things are kind of forgotten over time and memories fade, but the bottom line is that at this point, there's a deadline of June the 8th. We want folks to know that they have a legal right. American businesses and individuals have a right to bring this claim.
At least see if that will affect you. How do they get in touch with you, Ben?
Well, we've got, our offices are in Columbus and in Atlanta. The best way to reach us is in our Columbus office. There's a website, bpbusinesssettlementfund.com. You can go to the website and you can identify our contact information. Our number in the Columbus office is there's a 1-800 number we have, 877-495-2685. Again, 877-495-2685. And then our number in the Columbus office is 706-322-6226. So we're on the web. You can go to thefinleyfirm.com or you can go to bpbusinesssettlementfund.com. And we'd be happy to help anybody that may need more information. There's our website. Again, our offices are in Atlanta and Columbus. But the bottom line is we feel like people need to understand and recognize what their legal rights are. They need to be educated about it. And most small business owners don't have an in-house counsel of 20 or 30 lawyers.
And they're busy running the business.
Sure.
And thank you so much for being with us. Let us agree to do this too. As the deadline draws near, we're going to do this again. Okay?
That would be great.
For someone who may have missed it or they want to make sure that they got everything right. But this may be the answer to what you've been praying about because you were so affected by it. Thank you so much for being with us,
Thank you, Dee. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good information. Well, don't go anywhere. We have a rising gospel singer with us today. He's going to bless you with his voice. There he is, Sean Couch. Hello, Sean. When we come back, and then the girls, it's the Fun Friday.
Another big fish in the pond.